Okay, welcome to the first video of this Python programming tutorial. Um, in this first video, we are going to start talking about variables. So what we do is we will first open up our Python interpreter. On a Mac, you just do Python. On Windows, you need to install it and then type Python 3 or just type Python 2.7 or Python works as well. So let's start with a few basics. In programming, in any language, there are these things called variables. You can think of variables as labels. They allow us to store values and then use them later on. So in Python, it really doesn't matter what kind of data we store in that variable. It can be a string, it could be an integer, or a function. And I'll explain what these are later. But for now, let's define some variables and see how we work with them. So here we have a variable called a, and I want to set it to the value 20. All right, so now if I want to take a look at what that value is, it is 20. Now let's define another variable. Let's say b is 40. Now when I type b in, it'll tell me that that is the value of b. So what we've done right now is we defined variables a and b. A is 20 and b is 40. So those are integers. Let's talk about strings. So we can set variables to strings as well. So you can think of strings as text. Okay. You can also think of strings as just, you can think of these as words, but there could be spaces and other symbols. So for example, hello, my name is Michael, right? And that would be the string. So the whole string for that would be, for C would be text, and the whole string for D would be hello, my name is Michael. Now what is in the middle here is actually a character. So a string is actually a sequence of characters. So each of these you could think of as characters, but you can also think of this empty space as a character as well. Notice we can define variables in different ways. We can use these double quotes. We can also use single quotes. And both would work. And it really depends on what you actually have in the string. So for example, let's say you have a sentence that's, hello, my name is Joe, right? Now, let's say we use single quotes, and then let's actually change the sentence to I don't like you, right? There's an error if you do that. And why is there an error? Because this apostrophe is pretty much the same symbol as this. So it's interpreting this as a string, and then the interpreter doesn't really know what to do with that. And so what we usually do is we use double quotes to actually enable us to define a apostrophe like that. Now what happens when you want to put a quote inside? There are these things called escape characters. So sentence equals, so let's say I want to store the string my favorite quote is random quote, right? Let's say we want to print this out. It's really hard to just type that in, and it's going to be a syntax error. What you do is you would, if you want to use double quotes, what you would do is you would do the backslash character. What that does is it sort of treats this as a string and not a thing for the interpreter to interpret as any logic. So when you do this, now this variable can store the whole thing with the quote inside. Okay, so that is a quick introduction to variables. Variables are things you set. So let's think of it as a placeholder. You set a variable to some value, and that value could be a string. It could be integers. It can also be these things called floats, so 40.0, right? And in the next video, I will talk about expressions.